Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is Pastor Bruce. Welcome to my podcast. Today, I want to talk to you about this Kavanaugh hearing. Now, I listened to the whole thing uh, sitting at my desk here, and there's some things that bothered me. Okay, and first and foremost, before I get into her testimony, I want to get into the time frame of all of this, and you have to understand that, ladies and gentlemen. The time frame is vitally important. According to the time frame, Dianne Feinstein received a letter from an anonymous source where she said she did not want to be known and spoke of a sexual assault on August 30th. Between August 30th and September 7th, I believe it was, she spoke to the complainant. She advised the complainant to get herself a lawyer, yet she doesn't remember who told her to get a lawyer. Then later on, she admitted that Dianne Feinstein told her to get a lawyer and recommended the lawyer that she has. So she wasn't looking for lawyers. She was told who to get. Okay? And because of that, we start to get suspicious of what's going on. Now, next, we have Judge Kavanaugh going into her office, Dianne Feinstein's office. Did she question him about this allegation? No. She brought nothing of it up. She wrote questions out for him to answer. Was there anything in there? No. She questioned him openly at the hearing, and nothing was brought up. And behind closed doors, nothing was brought up. So one of two things. She either did not believe this individual or she was using it as a weapon. Okay? Now, her responsibility as the ranking member of this committee was to bring any allegations of any sort to the committee so that they could be aware of it. Did she do that? No, she didn't. So she violated their own code. And we got this now up to the hearing time. And in the hearing, in the questioning, nothing was brought up. Only when someone from Dianne Feinstein's office or the office of the representative in California leaked the letter. Not the information, but the letter said there is a letter. And Dianne Feinstein herself admitted that, well, maybe it was one of her friends, but the friends didn't know she wrote a letter, according to her testimony. Only then, when it was exposed, when they exposed the victim for their political end. Okay, yes, this is a conspiracy. And let's go to that conspiracy. Before he was nominated, they had signed stop whoever from becoming Supreme Court justice. They didn't even know who it was, but they're outside ready to protest. And as soon as Kavanaugh was named, they wrote his name in, stop Kavanaugh, stop Kavanaugh. That didn't work. They went into the hearings. They were giving 4,200 pages of decisions that he had written on, cases that he had covered, and they called and said, well, there's thousands more. We don't have it. We asked for an extension. We asked for an extension. And they wouldn't get the extension. They had enough information to sit there and know what was going on with this man. And yet they fought to try to get an extension of this hearing because they did not want him put into office before the election coming up next month or in 2 months. Now, while trying to do that, they organized over 100 people who were arrested for violating the codes that were violated during this hearing. And those people were taken out, thrown in jail because they did not want, not the people, but the Democratic senators did not want Kavanaugh to sit on the bench. Did not want him. And when that failed, and they're saying, okay, we're going to have a date set for the take a vote, then, only then, her name was leaked. It was in the paper. She was exposed, and death threats to her and her family. She had to move. And it was all because Dianne Feinstein failed to do her due diligence and start the investigation back when she received it. And now they're calling, let's have an investigation. Let's have an investigation. And when she was asked, it was only after all of this started, after the Democrats called for an FBI investigation, did she say, I want an investigation. Okay? I mean, come on, people. Do you see this? They're leading her. They're guiding her. The biggest blunder she had in her testimony, and she giggled a little bit about it, was at first she said, I have a fear of flying. Okay? I have a fear of flying. And because she said, I have a fear of flying, she was later questioned, how did she get out to Washington? Her friends and family coaxed her into going on the plane, okay? Coaxed her into getting on the plane and flying out. Nobody bothered to ask after they found out that she had been taking trips every year for some sort of meeting out on the East Coast, if her friends and family were there every year coaxing her. But she took a trip every year. And when she talked to Dianne Feinstein, she had taken a trip from California to Delaware, where she spoke to her and supposedly was trying to figure out in her car and other places how to get a lawyer. And I'll tell you, from a novice point of view, I've had some questionable situations, and it is painstakingly hard to find a lawyer to represent you. Okay? They all have excuses one way or another. But here she was in Delaware talking to Dianne Feinstein. Dianne Feinstein told her to get a lawyer and gave her the name of the firm, and that's who she went with. But then she talked about how she submitted to, which apparently her lawyer suggested she take a polygraph, and she submitted to the polygraph. But she doesn't know when it happened. What? Oh, I had to do it fast because I was going to New Hampshire. But she wasn't sure if it was the day she was flying out or the day before. And I believe, if you listen to the testimony, she said the day she was flying out or the day after. She doesn't recall. But it was in her hotel room. Okay? So I don't know. But I took the and that's fine. Okay? Polygraphs are not acceptable in court. They cannot be verified as being truthful. But that's okay. Was there a video taken? Nobody knows. Was there an audio? Nobody knows. And I can go on a computer and change questions around to make it so that the negative questions or the false questions don't equal to the ones that I have. So that's why polygraphs can't be determined as truthful or not. Okay? But then she went from Delaware to New Hampshire, and then from New Hampshire back to California. Who was in Delaware edging her on to the airplane? Who was in New Hampshire edging her on to the airplane? Nobody. And then she talked about how she went to Hawaii and Fiji and some of the other islands, and she smiled when she thought about her vacations. Smiled. So she didn't. This fear of flying is out the window. That is a lie of all lies. Okay? From my point of view, from my perspective, I've been on planes. I love planes. Have I ever been fearful of flying? No, haven't. And there's very few of us in this country that are fearful of flying. So that kind of led me to believe that she's being coaxed. She's being told what to say. Yes, I have a fear of flying, and yet here she's flying all over the place. That is something they coaxed her to do. Second point is that As soon as they heard of this allegation, weeks after Dianne Feinstein, then they started an internal investigation, which, if you understood what was going on, the Democrats are crying FBI investigation, FBI investigation. In other words, we're not going to do it. Let the FBI do it. And every time they sent people out to investigate, the Democrats did not send anybody for their side. We want the FBI to do it. Ladies and gentlemen, the FBI is like a police department, which I served in the United States Air Force for 20 years. When a situation's happened, we go out, we take witness statements, we take suspect statements, we take complainant statements. A complainant and a witness can be one and the same or separate. And we take these statements and we question these people to ensure that they fully understand what they're saying in these statements. And then we come back as military police and we write up our report based on the information that we received. Do we say that there's guilt or innocent? No, we're not allowed to. The FBI is not allowed to. He said, she said, here's your statements. And the corruption within the FBI, thanks to the Democrats, and we see that, and the Democrats are crying for that when they have their own investigators. Now, the other point on that was they were willing to send investigators to her, and she didn't know about it. She wasn't told about it. If she listened to Fox News, she would have known that they wanted to send, if she couldn't come, they would send investigators to her to question her. And one of the things about the questioning of her was a 5-minute here, 5-minute there. There's a forensic form of questioning of victims that helps them recall things, puts them more at ease, that they didn't want to do. The Democrats didn't want to do because they got it. They got it. This is what's going to destroy this man. This is what's going to keep him off of the Supreme Court. We won! We won! We won! No, they didn't. They humiliated, disgraced, embarrassed two good citizens of this country for their own political end. Yes, it was a conspiracy, and they didn't care who got hurt. The 100+ people who were arrested at the hearing, Dr. Ford or Kavanaugh. Was she sexually assaulted? In the way she answered some of the questions based on my own questioning of victims, yes, she was sexually assaulted. But I don't believe it was Kavanaugh. I believe it was another individual at that party or that gathering. I believe she said that there was a guy that she knew there that she wasn't dating, but they were hanging out together, which back then was considered dating. And that being the case, I believe he was the one. And she blocked it out because she thought he was a friend. That's what scared her the most. She thought she could trust this guy, and this guy would treat her with respect. But what happened? I think he sexually assaulted her, and that traumatized her. And because it traumatized her, she blocked it out. And in recalling, somehow Kavanaugh's name came up, entered into the picture, and from 2012 on, she thought it was Kavanaugh. You see, one of the things that was brought up, and they brought it up with Weinstein and with Bill Cosby. Once you do it, you don't stop. Once you do it, you don't stop. You continue. And with all of the letters from women who knew him in high school and in college, who supported his character and his being and his moral and ethical codes that he has, it is very hard to believe this one incident. Really is. Should we believe all women? we should believe that there should be an investigation. In this particular case, she knew it was near the club that she attended to go swimming in. She knew she lived 20 miles or 20 minutes away, and 20 minutes it could be anywhere from 5 to 15 miles. Okay, but we'll say 5 miles away. She doesn't know how she got home. Her girlfriend, who was there with her, her best friend, knew nothing of this situation. Now, here's the thing about that. This girl, or woman, at the time was a girl, she was sexually assaulted. She broke free from her assaulter, ran into the bathroom and hid in the bathroom. The person who did this never tried to knock on the door to get her to come out. Nothing. All she heard was, she said, they bounced off the walls walking down the hall. And when she thought it was safe, she got out of the bathroom, she ran down the steps and ran out the front door. As her girlfriend, the next day or two, or the next time they met, why didn't she say, where'd you go? What happened to you? I mean, watch any teen show on television. When something happens to a teenager, their best friend said, where'd you go? What happened? And eventually everything comes out to the best friend. And that never happened. Because I think she thought her best friend was that guy who she was hanging out with. I believe he was the one that committed the assault. It's my own personal opinion. Okay, I'm not mentioning any names. One, I don't recall the names, but I'm not going to mention any names. And if there's an investigation, it should be done not on Kavanaugh, but on her best friend and the guy she used to hang out with. Kavanaugh outright denied everything, and he had a right to be. And he had a right to say this is a conspiracy to destroy his good name. Ladies and gentlemen, do you understand that if he's not nominated to the Supreme Court because of this, everybody's going to look at him like a sexual predator? The parents of the girls on the softball team or whatever sports team that he coaches aren't going to want him around. The college where he teaches is not going to want him around because they're going to say, even though he wasn't convicted, he's a sexual predator. He's basically ruined his life because of the Democrats and their tactics, not to stop his nomination, but to destroy this individual so that they could pat themselves on the back and say, look, we're moving one step closer to socialism. They threw the rule of law out the window. They threw due process out the window, and they made a mockery of this hearing. They made a mockery of the justice system and of the good Congress that we used to have. And again, if I didn't say it, I'll say it again because I've said it before. The one person who should not have been on that panel asking him questions was Booker. Because Booker openly admitted in a letter when he was 15 years old, he sexually assaulted a young lady. He openly admitted it. Why and how did he ever become a senator from the state of New Jersey? Must be because he's allowed to assault women and get away with it. We have another black man who physically and mentally assaulted his girlfriend, I believe it was, running for the Justice Department in the state. I won something like that. And what are they doing? What's the Democratic Party doing? They're attacking the accused. They're not the accused. They're attacking the victim and supporting this pervert that they have in office or wanting to run for office. There's a double standard. If you're a social democrat, we'll defend you. We'll destroy your enemy. If you're a conservative, we'll destroy you. Ladies and gentlemen, it's not the way our country was set up. It's not the way we should live our lives. And I ask that if you vote, vote Republican. I don't care if you're Democrat, vote Republican. Because we need to send a clear message to the Democrats that are in Congress. We will not tolerate you destroying people's lives just so that you can have power in this country. This is Pastor Bruce. Thank you. God bless and have a great day.